Hey everybody, welcome back to the Lion Turtle Podcast. I'm Sal.
And I'm Christy.
And here we like to talk about travel.
In today's episode, we're going to get a little personal.
I think so. Yeah. We can say that.
Yeah. We're going to still talk about travel, but get into more of the travel and relationships aspect.
We might tell some stories about our relationship that never made it on Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
But Christy and I are private about that kind of stuff. And I think, but we're using it in the sense to make our points or help, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's no like dirty laundry or anything going out.
Oh yeah.
You're making it sound like it would be so like dramatic.
I want to make it tantalizing in the intro.
But what we are going to talk about is traveling with a partner. If it could be, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, or even just a friend.
Yeah.
If you are traveling with another person, sometimes just that other person, if they're a little bit different than you, even though you might be best friends, it can add that little extra layer of like
friction.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who's telling me about traveling. When she traveled with another friend, she didn't enjoy it. There were things she didn't like.
Right.
I've talked to couples, actual like romantic couples. They complain, oh, so and so doesn't like doing this or that or the other thing. Over the time, but we figure out some things that make it work for us.
Definitely. I mean, we've had just the same experiences that other people have said, about it being, kind of difficult because you have different travel styles or different like personalities basically, or different interests. You're interested in different things.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah.
So yeah, we've gone through that. And of course, being married, well, there's nothing we can do about it.
But
we're stuck.
We enjoy
But no,
we enjoy traveling together.
We enjoy traveling together. I'm just not supposed to.
Okay.
Wait.
All right.
It's not. It wasn't meant.
We're stuck.
I meant like we're stuck together, right? For better or for worse.
Well, let's just jump in.
For better or for worse, traveling or not.
What's the first tip we have today?
Okay, the first thing, which is probably one of the first things that we realized and made a big difference in our travel experience, was planning the itinerary together.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a full itinerary, because that can vary depending on you, whether you like to make itineraries or not. But you still kind of come up with some sort of idea of what you want to do.
Like an outline or something.
Even
right?
if it's an outline, yeah. But you and the other person should probably discuss the kind of things that you might want to see and do before you head out. And so that way you guys can sort of iron out those details and really figure out like, oh, well, yeah, I think museums are super boring, so I don't want to spend every day going to a museum, or something like that.
For us, I mean, that really has helped us and I think a good example that we have is our trip to Tokyo, or trips to Tokyo. So we've gone twice. Mm-hmm. The first time we went, Christy did the full itinerary, planning, research, everything all by herself.
And it was a full-on minute-by-minute itinerary.
Minute by minute. And it was go, go, go. We were packing up our stuff and moving every other night to a different city. And
they were long days.
They were really long days.
I'll admit, I was trying to pack in as much as I could into that trip.
Yeah, and for me, I don't like moving around that much when I'm traveling and trying to vacation. So I was miserable. But it was kind of my fault because I didn't participate with her in helping to plan that. So on our second trip to Tokyo, that's kind of when we put it together. Like, we both want to have fun. We both want this to be a trip for us. So I got more involved with the planning process. Right. I looked at stuff that I wanted to do, made her aware of things that I wanted to do. She incorporated that into the process and into the itinerary. And yeah, I told her, hey, I want to hang out, I want to rest, and so she incorporated rest time for us. And so
Right. Well,
it
but you
helped a
were
lot.
honest, right? And so that's important when
and
you're
you were open minded.
right. When you're planning the itinerary, you have to be honest. You have to be open minded.
Yeah.
State your concerns. I mean, you don't want to be rude or mean.
You don't want to shoot people's ideas down.
Right. You kind of do it in a nice way, a collaborative way. And yeah, sometimes, you or the other person might get a little like upset because, you think your way is better or something. But just from the get-go, both of you keep an open mind and just listen to each other.
Yeah, like be willing to express if you have any kind of concerns. Like Christy mentioned, compromise is a big
Yeah,
thing.
because when you're making that plan, there might be something that you want to see that's maybe out of the way or going to
Yeah.
take a long time.
Yeah.
And, you got to consider the whole trip. Right? Like, how much time do you actually have? Where are you going? Is going to this one thing going to take up a good chunk of the whole trip?
Yeah. And it's about communication, being
Yeah.
honest, open about it. One of the things that helps us out is when we're planning a trip, going into it, we decide on what's the point or what's the purpose of this
Yeah.
trip. What kind of trip is this? Is this going to be like the last time we went to Hawaii, where it was going to be very, go with the flow and just kind of enjoy whatever happens and relax and, spend time with the fam and friends? Or is it going to be a go trip? Like, if you know what the purpose of your trip is and the point, and you both agree
Yeah.
on that, I think it's easier to come to a decision when you're looking at options. I don't want to throw guys under the bus, but I tend to see it more with guys where we're just like, let her plan it, whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, man. Like if you're not going to participate in planning, then you can't complain when you're there. So me. If anybody knows me, I love to complain. I love to complain. So you tell me that I can't complain if I don't do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what I got to do to be able to complain.
Yep.
Kidding. But no, like be involved with the planning of the itinerary. And I think that also goes into a difference in Christy's personality, my personality. And I've noticed this with other people. Is you have two kinds of people sometimes, the hotel time person and the adventure time person.
Yep.
And I'm definitely a hotel time person.
And I'm definitely adventure time. Like like Sal said, go. Let's go climb to the top of a mountain and see this beach and, see everything.
Yeah, just pack it all into 1 day, 1 minute of every day.
And Sal's perfectly content going to the other side of the world to stay in the hotel.
And sometimes the hotels are really nice though.
But yeah, I mean, that's just an example of our extremes, but
Yeah.
we've learned to work with it.
Yeah, and we work together, we talk about it, we meet in the middle on some things. And like part of it is being able to communicate though, like why you want to do something, right? Or why you want to hang out. So when Christy and I were in Hawaii for our honeymoon, I wanted to hang out by the pool at her uncle's condo. And I was like, I want to hang out by the pool. I want to have a beer. I want to just relax there. And Christy's like, we're in Hawaii. Why would you not want to be on the beach? Are you crazy?
Like,
And
why would you want to be at a pool instead of like the beautiful sandy beaches with like cliffs and stuff?
And it's a good, she has a good point there. But for me, what I didn't do a good job of communicating to her at the time, and again, with this Hawaii trip, I wasn't part of the planning process, mind you, was like, well, yeah, I know, but it takes time to drive out to those beaches. There's people out there. We got to get dressed. We got to get undressed when we get home. We got to get cleaned up. There's a lot of things that go along with it. And sometimes you just want to chill and relax.
So it's just both of you kind of have to talk and understand each other.
And circling back to the first point, if you can, get that out of the way before you even go on the trip. Like, understand it. If someone does like to take it slower, work it in there.
Yeah.
I think it helps a lot.
Yeah, like in Tokyo, right?
Okay.
We already knew that, okay, you're going to be more involved in the itinerary.
Mm-hmm.
So we, at that point in Tokyo, said we're going to schedule in hotel time because we were going to stay at a super nice hotel.
Yeah,
as well.
there was like a spa and a hot tub and all this other stuff.
Yeah, it was a very nice, fancy hotel that we were able to get, of course, with our credit card points. And yeah, I mean, I understood like it's probably worth it to stay in, and it was part of the schedule, so I didn't feel like, oh, I was missing something on my itinerary because I was part of it. But we had a great time. It was just really nice to enjoy it. It was relaxing, and
We spent like a whole half day just like between the pool and the spa inside, the hot tubs, the massage chairs. It was...
yeah, I really like appreciated the time, and I didn't feel like I was missing out on seeing something because I already had that expectation in my head. And so like I didn't worry about anything, I just actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, and like the same goes with the adventure time stuff though too. Like Christy wants to get up super early for a hike, or maybe she wants to go on an all-day tour of like the countryside or something like that. Like if you're involved with the planning, you know that you can mentally prepare for that. Like, okay, that's what we're going to do that day. I understand that. And it makes it a lot easier to embrace it, and it makes it a lot easier to just enjoy it for what it is. And sometimes you're doing something that is completely out of character for you, but that's what your partner wants to do. And yeah, you end up having a great time and it becomes amazing.
Yeah, definitely there's no right way, whether you like all hotel time or all adventure time. It's more about what's going to make the trip the best for both of you.
Yeah. And I think that was your other point that you were trying to make, which was like understanding each other, right?
Right. So maybe you guys have like normal routines and goals and commitments that you do at home. And you know that on your trip, maybe you're not going to keep everything the same, but there's some things that, you might want to keep. Like in your instance, you're working out, your training schedule. I didn't understand that at first. Again, it was another thing where I was like, come on, it's vacation.
Like we were at Disney World and I was like going to the gym and stuff like that.
Just enjoy the vacation. It's okay. If you don't work out, you're not going to lose all your gains. You'll be fine, but like it was really stressing him out and making him grumpy. And I was just like, oh my God, you're just like being so extra. Like, I just didn't understand it. But I mean, now I do, where it's just, a part of him, and that's what makes him feel good. It helps him de-stress, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you were going with someone who enjoys meditating, right? Like they take 30 minutes a day to meditate, and then you tell them, oh, why are you meditating? We're on vacation. What are you doing? Well, that's something that they do for their own mental health, their own happiness, their physical happiness.
Yeah.
And so you started to realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did after a while. I was like, okay. And I mean, it made the whole trip better for both of us, because now, you're more relaxed. You're not grumpy, which then, like helps me, because I'm not like tiptoeing around you or asking you like, what's wrong? Why are you so angry? And you're like,
To be fair, though, it's not like, we drop everything for that. Like,
no, definitely not.
If I know that we have something to do that day, it's going to be a busy day, but like, hey, this is the only chance I'm going to get to work out, I'll wake up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
I'll wake up at 4 a.m. and go get it knocked out so we can make sure that Christy and I can have breakfast at 7 and get to our tour at 9. Or if we're traveling from one city to the next, and remember, step one, I'm working with her on the itinerary. She knows, okay, when we fly into this city, he's going to go straight to the gym. She already has something planned, maybe with her video downloads or something like that, and
right.
And that's the other thing too, is it's a give and take, because we go, and a big goal that Christy has when we travel is to get footage of the places that we're in, be able to make a cool video that she can share with you guys and with me, and we can keep for our memories. But that takes time. Like when you're there, you have to stop and you have to get that footage. You have to get that right shot. Sometimes you have to wait around in the same spot for like an hour when maybe you could be walking around doing other stuff. But no, we have to wait here because we got to wait for the sun to be just right. And I started realizing that, like, at first it was like, oh man, it's so annoying. And I started realizing, well, that's important to her. That's what she wants to do. That's her goal. That's her reason for being here. So instead of being all upset about it, why not support her and embrace it and try and help her out?
Now being part of it kind of helps you feel more involved instead of just standing there waiting.
Yeah.
Because now you're on camera or helping me choose a good angle or whatever, instead of just being bored on the side.
And generally, like, what I've noticed too is it makes her happier. Like if I'm involved with it and I'm helping her, it makes it easier for her to create the content or for her to be able to enjoy it.
I don't feel as bad. Like, I better hurry up and try to get something, because he's just there standing there waiting, And because like we have different interests, and I was more interested in the video photo first before Sal, and he's kind of come around to it.
So it's understanding each other before you get there and while you're there, routines, goals. But the other thing is like fears and anxieties.
When I go into a new city, and it's mainly cities, I mean, I can drive like on a road trip, highway, straight road, whatever. But once we get into the city and it's all new sort of traffic and crazy drivers, that just freaks me out. And I don't feel comfortable behind the wheel. I think just like because I know I get so nervous, then it just doesn't feel safe.
So we go and we know that I have to do most of the driving. And if we can plan around it, we plan public trans or we plan something. So that way, I can enjoy the scenery also. Yeah. I'm not just stuck behind the wheel focusing on the road. But, it's talking to each other and like acknowledging if it's a legitimate concern or anxiety or fear that they have. So just acknowledge it, figure out a way around it in that early planning stages. Or if you don't know until you're there, then fine, you don't know until you're there. There's no point in getting upset about it then. Just communicate, talk to each other, work together.
Yeah, sometimes you might have to express like your anxiety or fear, or just say like, I just don't feel comfortable doing this, you know, like this really like freaks me out or whatever. And say it, because you can't always expect or assume that the person that you're traveling with knows that.
No, yeah.
You know, maybe they're too busy just being upset or annoyed and not stopping to take the moment to like really understand. But if you say it, they're like, oh, okay, and maybe it'll just help make more sense of the whole thing.
like a heavy sigh and an eye roll does not communicate your point. You know, like those nonverbal cues, that's not going to do it. Sometimes you got to stop and say, okay, look, this is my issue. I need to verbalize it. I need to explain it clearly. And you, the person on the receiving end, be open to that. Like, okay, they are taking time to explain it, because you don't know what's in their head. They don't know what's in your head. You're two completely different people, two completely different opinions, emotions, everything. So it's not fair for either one of you to be like, oh, well, you should have known that.
With that goes, you know, when you're getting ready for a trip, so there's a lot of planning. Like we said, there might be important documents, you know, taking care of sitters.
Yeah. It's kind of working together.
Yeah, leaving, you know, making sure everything is ready to go at home and then ready for when you leave, right? And so we have figured out that you want to divide that work.
Divide the work and you share the responsibility.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we this could have turned ugly for us on one trip. It could have turned really ugly for us, but you know, we had already been doing a lot of these other things, starting to try and communicate better, and we had decided we wanted to have a good trip. So we were in Tokyo, but before we left to Tokyo, we were packing all of our stuff, and Christy was in charge of taking all of our documents. And so she's asking for my help. Hey, do we have all of our documents?
It was the morning before we had to catch the flight.
Yeah. Hey, do we have all of our documents? I don't know. Do you have the folder that I told you to put all of our documents in because you're responsible for that? Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. We must have them. Well, we were in some cafe in Tokyo, and the next day or that day, we were supposed to go riding the go-karts to do the Mario Kart dress up. And I was super excited about it. That was like the one thing that I wanted to do in that entire trip. And so I asked Christy, you know, hey, did you bring the AAA driver's licenses? Because you need those. And she's like, no, what?
I look at the folder and they're not in the folder, you know, where everything was supposed to be. And it was just, I mean, I was trying to keep track of all the documents and I was sticking them in this one folder. And for whatever reason, those international driver's license were in another folder or whatever in a drawer at home, and they didn't make it into the folder that I took with me. I felt really bad. I felt guilty, like, oh my god, I messed up. I forgot this one document, and it had to be the document, you know, for the thing that I wanted to do. Obviously, at least it wasn't like a passport or something that wasn't going to let us come back, or like some like hotel thing, but still.
So she felt really bad about it, and I could see that. And so it was really tense. Like, we were really tense.
It was a pretty tense, I don't know, like afternoon.
Yeah, and like, but we didn't argue about it. And part of it was in my head. I realized at that point that, well, it's not entirely her fault, because she did ask for my help, and I didn't help her. You know, so when we say divide the work, share the responsibility, that's what we mean. Like, hey, Christy, your task is to collect all the documents, but that doesn't mean that alleviates me from helping her out and double checking. Same thing when I'm in charge of putting in all of our passenger information into a ticket, like into the computer for our tickets or something. Yeah, that's my task, but that doesn't alleviate her to say, oh, Sal did it, so everything must be okay. Well, no, take a second before we leave. Look at that information, make sure he put it in correctly. And so... Yeah,
or you end up having to go through the regular line because you don't have TSA pre-check.
So,
I mean, and like Sal said, you might get tasked with something, right? But you double check each other's work. You don't say like, well, I'm not going to help you because you're just responsible for that. You know, like that morning when I was like, okay, well... do we have everything? You know, do we have all the documents? Instead of being like, well, do you have the folder? Yes. Okay. Instead, we should have just done it sort of checklist style. And if it still got by us, well, we can't be mad at each other because it's like, well, it got by both of us. You know, like
it's just something that happened.
It's not like stuff like that. It doesn't end up being just one person's fault. It's both of you. And so you're just like, dang, you know, right? We messed up, but okay, you move on.
But the one thing is, you got to remember, you got to work together because something will go wrong. on your trip. Every time something will go wrong.
Yeah.
And you can't let it ruin your trip.
You work together to solve the problem instead of just like being mad at each other or blaming. And yeah, because especially if you accept that now ahead of time before you even leave on the trip, when it does happen, you won't be so surprised. You'll be like, oh, this is it. This is the thing.
This is what we had planned on.
And this is the
you know,
thing
you'll
that was
show
gonna
up
go
and
wrong.
it's just pouring rain and you can't do anything about it and you're just like, oh well, like this is what we expected, you know. Yeah, it's just...
And I mean, who knows? Sometimes it can lead to more like adventure or like something fun.
If you keep an open mind about it,
Yeah, like sometimes, yes, it just sucks. But sometimes it can just lead to a fun, weird opportunity. Like when we climbed up a mountain and we're supposed to take the like cable car down, but took a wrong turn somewhere and ended up walking 2-3 hours back down the mountain, but it was like the most beautiful sight ever.
Yeah, like when we got to the base of the mountain, we came upon like all these. We happened upon a bunch of like temples and stuff that
little
just
like Japanese
it
like
was
statues.
one.
And stuff.
It was like a picture. Like it was so beautiful, and I was like my jaw literally dropped.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
And like it's funny because we knew we were walking for a while, but we didn't realize that we had missed our cable car till we were already at the bottom.
Yeah.
But and like we had already purchased the ticket ahead of time to go on the car. So like okay, we spent this money and we didn't even use the ticket or whatever, but still like we saw something that we might have not have seen.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. That takes us to our last point, which is
GPS.
Sucks.
Oh yeah, I mean talking about driving fears, anxiety, and things will go wrong.
God, this is the one that you will want to argue about, and it is so hard. The GPS will always get you lost and turned around, and
it always happens at like the worst time too.
Oh my, like the one place you got to get to on time while you're on vacation, and that's when it messes you up, and it's like, oh my god, like.
And I mean, it's easy to start like just fighting and being like, oh my god, how can you not read it? But I'm like, look at the phone. The arrow is literally spinning.
And she has to remind me sometimes because I'm just ready to get in the car and start moving. Hey, wait, before you pull out, let me map it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me look at the map. You look at the map, so we both look at the map. And you know what I'll do is I'll grab the map from our look, and then I'll start explaining the map to her. Like, okay, it looks like I'm going to turn right out here, and then I'm going to go and take a left, and then I'm going to go straight for a while, and we should come to a big intersection at that big. And so I'll like kind of start explaining the map to her because she's not as good as maps as I am. That helps.
Yeah, it helps. And I mean, that was something that you had a hard time with at first because I would tell you like, look, before you start driving, like, give me a second to pull up the map, look at it, because I would always try to tell him, like, it does start changing on me as you start driving. And once it starts changing, like, I don't know where to tell you at the last second. But if we both see it and have a general idea, then it's easier to get our bearings if the map is going crazy.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it was just, like, this weird, like, thing that you were just like, no. And another thing is, like, maybe you just have to stop, pull over, you know, and be like, okay, let me stop, pull to the side, and let's look at this thing and see what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, that, as aggravating as it is to do that, sometimes, like, it's just better to just get it out of the way. Okay, and now we're back on track. But if you were depending on GPS, just know it sucks. It's not your partner's fault. They could probably be the best map reader in the world. And if they're not the best map reader in the world, just know that it could happen to the best map reader.
I mean, that's even if you're getting like a good Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you're in another country, you might not be getting good Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's no GPS.
I think that wraps it all up in a nice little package.
I hope that helped.
I hope it did help. So, that brings us to...
Tip of the day. And today, Sal is giving our tip of the day. So, Sal, you have 3.27 seconds to give tip of the day.
Tip of the day. Okay. When do I start?
Now?
Oh, I'm out of time. If I had to give a tip of the day, I think at one point in the podcast we talked about things going wrong and getting caught in the rain. So that would be my very practical tip of the day is if you go traveling somewhere, it's never a bad idea to have some sort of wet weather gear. So whether it's a light raincoat or a poncho or something like that, if you have some waterproof shoes that don't take up too much space, that's always good. Maybe some water resistant pants, that's always great. Because you may get caught in the rain. And it sucks because if you're caught in the rain, you don't want to be stuck in your hotel room or you don't want to be stuck in some, I don't know, random museum that you don't even know about.
Or soaking wet.
Or soaking wet in jeans. Which is just the worst. We've encountered that since then. We've kind of learned, so we always have some sort of wet weather gear with us. So when we got to Scotland, we couldn't check into our hotel room. It was raining. We're like, okay, fine. We left our luggage in the lobby and
First
we went out.
First of all, we knew already because it's like it's Scotland.
Yeah,
it's
we knew it was gonna rain, but we still expected it. We weren't wishing like, oh, hopefully it doesn't rain. We went in thinking it's gonna rain, and when it did, it was fine. We still enjoyed the whole day out in the rain. So if you have the room for it, definitely shoes are great, but at least a top is always necessary. So that
like
would
a
be
raincoat,
like a raincoat or a poncho or something. So that is my tip of the day. If you are listening on Anchor or Apple Podcasts or Spotify, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe, hit a review or a like or anything like that. If you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment.
Leave a comment, send us your questions.
Share with your friends if you think this is a fun video. Any support always helps. Until then,
see you later.
Bye. Just keep in mind though, something wrong will go happen. Like
something
no matter how much you work together, something wrong will happen.
Yeah.